with breaking news. This is News Channel 5 at 10.
And breaking news tonight, a manhunt intensifies for the gunman who opened fire at a mid-state officer. Now that search has spread across state lines into Cumberland County, Kentucky.
There are 2 officer-involved shootings that authorities say they are investigating tonight. The first happened this afternoon in Allgood, Tennessee, where an officer was shot. Now, this all happened after the shooting in Allgood, Tennessee this afternoon, about an hour south of here. Authorities there say during a traffic stop, Floyd Ray Cook shot Allgood officer Ascari Valencia and then drove off. We're told Officer Valencia is in good condition and will be okay, but tonight the Putnam County Sheriff has a strong warning for anyone in this area of Kentucky or back in Tennessee tonight.
We certainly don't want no one to get seriously injured because of this individual out armed and apparently has no regard for any life, especially police officers at this time.
Oh, with breaking news, this is News Channel 5 at 10.
A search for the gunman who shot a local police officer has intensified tonight. Floyd Ray Cook has barricaded himself in a home, and the SWAT team has moved in. The 62-year-old has been in a Kentucky home since 2:30 this afternoon. This after he pulled a gun on a teenager. Now, police finally caught up with Cook this afternoon, but again, only after he allegedly held a teenage boy at gunpoint.
Take a listen to what happened just moments ago. Through the darkness, we're told that was a flashbang, a device used to disorient suspects without hurting them, and that was likely what the loud sirens were trying to do as well.
This dude just walked out of the woods, and he was just telling us to stay there, but then he pulled a gun.
From the pictures on the news, Justin Bowles and his girlfriend Katie knew. Did it look like this guy?
Yeah, that's the man.
Yeah. They then watched as from all corners of the county,
you guys may want to go back up a little farther.
Heavily armed law enforcement descended on the area.
I'm freaked out a little bit right now.
Floyd Cook, it turned out, had barricaded himself inside Justin's dad's home. What were you thinking?
Leave, go get the cops.
Cumberland County Schools announced a little while ago that here in Kentucky, all schools will be closed today due to the search for the fugitive on the run.
And in a strange turn of events, the home where Cook was thought to be hiding Sunday night in Burkesville, Kentucky, went up in flames this afternoon.
Authorities tell us it burned to the ground, and it doesn't seem to be an accident.
We have team coverage of the manhunt, which is still ongoing tonight in Burkesville, Kentucky. Let's start with News Channel 5's Jason Lamb with more on the search for the 62-year-old. Jason.
That's right, that manhunt started back up in full force again early this morning after police stormed a house that they thought Cook was in, but it turns out he was nowhere to be seen. So here's what you need to know right now if you live in the area. Police are still searching for Cook, but they cannot say with certainty whether Cook is still in the area. They urge that he could very well be, and of course, he is armed and dangerous.
You know, deep hills, deep hollows, surrounded by the lake. So, you know, it could possibly, he's already gone, but we've got to look at it like he's still here.
Those perhaps most concerned out here this evening are the folks who live near Hendricks Creek Marina. That is the area where the 62-year-old was last seen with a gun. The only thing these deep Kentucky woods couldn't hide today,
you don't know if he will, try to come out of the woods,
was the fear Darlene Spears and her neighbors were feeling.
And every time the dog would bark, I'll look outside, and I've kept the blinds closed. And
Darlene and her husband were inside their Burkesville home Saturday night when they saw lights, then heard sirens.
And all of a sudden we started hearing all the gun shots, it was gunfire, and it just kept going and going.
Those shots, officials say, were fired by Floyd Cook as he fled authorities and took off into the thickly wooded area around Dale Hollow Lake.
But it is very rough terrain, and there's a lot of like little bluffs that you can get under.
Turns out this is not his first time running from the law. News Channel 5's Jason Lamb has been looking at his criminal past and joins us from the newsroom. Jason, what have you learned?
Well, it turns out Cook was able to escape the Kentucky State Pen back in the 80s in one of the biggest prison breaks in state history. He was later caught, but then he told a local newspaper if he had the chance, he'd do it all over again. Long before police say Floyd Cook shot a police officer in Allgood, Tennessee Saturday and then ran away. Long before he shot at another officer in Kentucky hours later and escaped again. Long before the sirens and tear gas were deployed at a home in Cumberland County, Kentucky, where police thought Cook was hiding, but in reality, he was long gone.
All Ask your question.
Before all that, Cook had already established a long and troubling history of running from the law. He was one of 8 people who broke out of the Kentucky State Penitentiary in June 1988. It was the largest prison break the state had ever seen. Cook was serving a life sentence for first-degree rape. He was eventually captured, but days later, he and others who escaped out of the maximum security prison bragged in an article printed in the Kentucky New Era that they'd do it all over again if they had the chance. Cook himself told the reporter interviewing him, "It doesn't take long to cut through the door if you've got a good blade. I had a piece that was only about an inch long. It took me about 4 days."
Breaking news. This is News Channel 5 at 10.
Breaking news, the man wanted since Saturday for shooting a police officer is spotted right here in the mid-state and has opened fire at authorities again.
It's still a very active scene out here. Multiple law enforcement agencies are working right now to assist with this search. And here is a look at the 2 men they are trying to find, Floyd Cook and Troy Wayne. U.S. Marshals first caught up with these 2 men not far from where I'm standing right here behind me at this Shell station. They identified the suspects during a traffic stop. This is off I-65, exit 108. Shots were exchanged. No one was hurt, but Cook and Wayne then crashed into another vehicle, went through a fence, crashed their vehicle, and then took off on foot. Ever since, air and ground searches have been ongoing. The THP, Robertson County Sheriff's Department, White House Police, and Millersville Police all assisting with this investigation. And a spokesperson for the THP says people in White House need to be on alert and on the lookout for these 2 men who are dangerous.
If you see something, say something. Immediately call 911. This is not a joke. This is real. These men are extremely dangerous. They have no intentions except to hurt someone to get away, and they have proven that at least 3 times.
Let me give you a live look down there at that Shell station where all of this went down just a little bit earlier tonight. Cops are everywhere, as long as fire trucks, EMS on standby as folks search tonight for fugitive Floyd Cook and Troy Wayne on the run. Once again, this has been a very active scene for the last couple of hours. We've seen cops also spread out in a 2 or 3 mile radius in groups of 2 or 3 along different roadways, keeping traffic slow, searching for where these 2 men might be. Also in the air, THP flying low with their searchlight on, looking for these 2 guys who have escaped again into thin air tonight. They cannot find them. Looks like things are heating up in a neighborhood here in the White House area for sure tonight. Here is what we know and have just confirmed. Police have made an arrest in this search tonight, but it is not Floyd Cook. It is a woman. We do not know her name. I'll give you some more details that we do know here in just a second. But again, an arrest of a woman here in the White House area. I have my GPS out on my phone. I'm trying to give you some idea of where this is happening, but we do know we're in a neighborhood. My GPS is telling me we're over Cherokee, Apache Trail, Volunteer Drive, that sort of area.
We do begin this morning with breaking news. An intense manhunt in Robertson County is over, at least for now, and no sign of the accused police shooter, Floyd Cook.
2 of his accomplices, however, are now in custody after quite a chaotic night. Let's check in with Cuthbert Langley, joins us from White House, near where this situation began. Cuthbert, can you fill us in on what happened?
Yeah, Amy, what we know right now is that the 2 alleged accomplices are being interviewed by a host of authorities. No word on how well they are cooperating with the investigation or if they have shed any more light on where Floyd Cook could be. We know the traffic stop was right here around 6:30 last night, and now these 2 people are in custody. Troy Wayne and Katie McCarty. They are known associates of Cook and could possibly have been seen with him at some point as he continues to elude police now for the 5th day. Here's how we got to where we are this morning. Last night, as I said, U.S. Marshals tried to stop the 2 right near a Shell gas station in White House. As authorities tried to stop the car, the suspects, according to police, started ramming into a U.S. Marshal vehicle and another one before trying to run over a police officer.
Now, with breaking news, this is News Channel 5 at 5.
That breaking news, Floyd Cook spotted. Sky 5 is on the way to Burkesville, Kentucky, where crews are on the ground and in the air searching for the 62-year-old.
You may remember Cook's been on the run since shooting an Allgood, Tennessee police officer this weekend. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous.
Local, state, and federal authorities are now all involved in this search for Cook.
Yeah, and last night, 2 of Cook's accomplices were taken into custody in White House, Tennessee after shooting at U.S. Marshals. News Channel 5's Chris Conti joins us from White House with more on this developing situation. Chris.
Rory, Floyd Cook has managed to hold the small town of Burkesville, Kentucky hostage by fear for the last 5 days, and he has done it once again tonight. Let's take you right up to Sky 5. They are currently over the scene in Kentucky where about an hour and a half ago, Floyd Cook was spotted by a resident there. That resident then called 911 and a massive manhunt once again ensued. You can see THP officials actually out there on the scene. This is off of Highway 61 near Salina Road, right near Roy Willis Barbecue, if you're familiar with the area. If you do live in this area, you are being told once again to stay inside, lock your doors, do not approach Floyd Cook. If you see him, do not go near him. He is considered armed and dangerous. We just got off the phone with officials there in Cumberland County, Kentucky, and if you are a parent who has a student in school there, you are being told to actually go to the school to pick them up. They are not letting buses leave any of the schools there. This is just north of the Tennessee border. Cumberland County butts right up against Clay County, and this is just over the border there.
While that dangerous search continues for a 6th day for fugitive Floyd Cook.
Around 50 law enforcement officers from all different agencies are on the hunt for the 62-year-old convicted rapist who has eluded officers in 2 states. Now they think they're closing in on him.
Yeah, Rebecca Schleicher and Todd Walker join us live from different areas of Burkesville, Kentucky. First, let's get the latest update on this very fluid situation from Rebecca. What can you tell us?
Well, Rory, Carey, the 6-day manhunt for a fugitive may all come down to tonight. In the last 5 minutes, we got an update that there might be an area of interest where troopers may think that Cook is. Now, this is after hours of no updates after a dog caught his scent off Salina Road earlier today. So this is a very active and very dangerous area still. They're saying everybody around here needs to lock their doors and stay inside. They hope that they have Cook somewhere cornered in the woods. Troopers say he approached a couple at their home around 2:30 this afternoon and asked them for a ride. They recognized him, said no, and called 911. A sheriff's deputy said he spotted Cook and watched him take off on foot into the woods. Now, these dense woods near Dale Hollow Lake have made multiple searches for Cook extremely difficult. And once the sun went down, troopers say that made it much worse.
It makes it hard to see, and I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we need to do. So we're going to really rely on the canines, and hopefully they're still tracking to be able to give us a good lead on to where he may be. Obviously, I mean, it can benefit him much more than it will us, because he can lay down, hunker down, and maybe be walked right over.
And we continue our team coverage tonight with our Todd Walker, also in Burkesville, near that search scene.
Yeah, Todd, I know you spoke exclusively with the man who tipped off this entire search.
Yeah, guys, that's right. But first, I want to get to more of that breaking news that Rebecca was talking about. So we just had a bunch of law enforcement blast by us here along Salina Road, which is the roadblock is right there by us. And some law enforcement who has been at that roadblock told me that they believe that Floyd Cook is cornered somewhere in a barn very near us. And so they were letting us know in case we need to take cover. They said they'd also let us know as soon as they catch him. So this is happening very near us. We're about 10 miles away from Rebecca Schleicher at our location here at the roadblock. But you mentioned that we did speak exclusively to the man who tipped this whole thing off. Jim Scott says Floyd Cook walked down his driveway, which is just past the roadblock here. Cook apparently asked him for a ride, and all of this was caught on camera.
Another massive manhunt in Burkesville, Kentucky Thursday night. Roads blocked off, eyes in the sky and on the ground, all looking for Floyd Cook. No one can find him.
He was walking up this way, and then when I hollered at him, he turned and walked back.
But Cook apparently found Jim Scott.
I hollered and asked him what he was wanting. Well, he stepped out right here on the sidewalk, and he said, "I need a ride." And I told him, I said, "You're not going to get a ride around here."
It was all caught on Scott's home security system that he had just installed a few months ago. Scott says he knew that face.
If I'd have known who it was for sure, it'd been different.
He says Cook did not appear to be armed, but Scott had his gun ready.
But I was 90% sure it was the fellow they've been looking for. You can't shoot somebody unless they've got a gun, no matter what the circumstance. You know.
Scott says Cook turned and went back down the road. He trailed him in his truck when a sheriff's deputy saw Cook too. Cook saw the deputy and took off again.
Search is over. Fugitive Floyd Cook was shot and killed during a shootout with police in Burkesville, Kentucky early this morning, 6 days after shooting at a mid-state police officer.
Matthew Torres and Cuthbert Langley have been following both of these big stories all night long, and we're going to begin with Cuthbert at the Burkesville City Hall. And Cuthbert, where do they finally find Cook?
Steve, they found Floyd Cook lying in a ditch less than 5 miles away from where he was last seen on Sunday. And this dramatic two-state manhunt ended the same way it began, all thanks to one woman who was still too frightened to show her face on camera and who is one of the last people to ever have seen this convicted rapist alive.
I mean, I truly thought my life was over. I thought I was going to be a hostage or he was going to hurt me or kill me.
The worst thoughts came through this woman's mind as she stumbled upon Floyd Cook in her brother's driveway.
And there he stood. There he stood, just leaned up next to a post. And I looked at it again and I said, oh, my God, oh, my God. And my brother said, what is it? I said, it's him, it's him. And I said, I turned around real quick and I ran away.
Before dialing 911, the woman heard from Cook, who refused to identify himself but had one request.
I mean you no harm. He said, I just need a drink of water. I mean you no harm.
It was that sighting of the convicted rapist, desperate for help after 6 days on the run, that proved to be the break authorities needed. Choppers armed with thermal imaging equipment were launched, canines hot on his trail. And then at 12:21 Friday morning, this 6-day, two-state frantic manhunt ended in a ditch in a dramatic gun battle involving police.
Shots were exchanged, and Cook sustained wounds, which ultimately led to his death.
And with Cook's death, the search ended, and the worried thoughts of this tiny community in Kentucky can now be replaced by relief.
I'm just glad it's over. I'm just glad it's all over, and no more people were hurt.
In terms of why did Cook decide to show himself Thursday, those are questions authorities tell me they probably will never have the answers to. But what is known this morning is that the search is finally over.